welcome back to my story. Yes, I've owned multiple YFZ 450s, and I might have a problem. In part 1, I described the long and twisted but mostly fun road to how I found my first YFZ. I had just gotten it back from the shop and was told yet again I had a machine that I should sell due to potential for problems. Expensive problems. But I couldn't recall when I had been that excited about how an ATV ran. I came up with another plan. I would sell it and find an EFI YFZ in pristine condition. It should be even better and much more reliable. That strategy had worked for me with the Suzuki Z400s, so why not try again? While I had the 05 listed, I started looking. To be prepared when it sold, of course. I came across a 2010 YFZ 450X edition on Facebook Marketplace. Rest in peace, Craigslist. It was the only one anywhere near me, and it was only an hour away. Since I would mainly use it for trail riding, I figured the X edition would be even better. The descriptions said it was made for GNCC and woods riding. It had more low and mid-range power and a slightly narrower front end with different geometry to make it more comfortable for woods riding, including different ergonomics. And with it being newer with EFI and no circulation issues, it should be low risk for major problems. Seemed like too good of an opportunity to pass up. I also justified not waiting for my 05 to sell by thinking how great it would be to do a direct A-B comparison. I was getting a good deal on the 450X, so I figured if I didn't like it, I could at least sell it for what I paid for, if not more. These are the things we tell ourselves. I messaged the owner with a fair offer and he accepted. After a quick test ride in the cold winter rain in the middle of a suburban neighborhood, I became the owner of my second YFZ, or rather two YFZs. However you want to look at it. I couldn't wait to get this quad out and see what it would do. And I didn't have to do any work before I rode it. Well, other than buy a battery, because this one would not hold charge due to sitting for too long, even though it had a float charger attachment. Go figure. With the new battery installed, I headed again to Brushy Mountain. And again, I was impressed with the overall power and quick acceleration. It definitely had more power on tap than a tight trail could handle, and you could really open it up on the straights. However, the more time I spent on it, the more I noticed it wasn't as comfortable a ride, despite what Yamaha said. The extra padded T-shaped seat pushed me more forward on the quad than I liked. I felt like I was constantly having to hold myself back to stay in the position I wanted. I hoped I just needed to get used to it and moved on mentally. I also decided it was safe to sell the 05 and let it go. I rode the 450X at Brown Mountain, Kairos Resort in Virginia, and Dirt World in Statesville. At Dirt World, I rode on their woods trail and the motocross track. Even though the 450X is supposedly set up for woods and GNCC riding, it was actually the most fun on the motocross track, easily absorbing jumps and getting the power to the ground effectively. And the aggressive ergonomics made sense there. I continued to notice the comfort issue. The only way to ride comfortably was to stay standing, which is fine for a lap or two on a track, but it gets old after a while on extended trail rides. I also noticed the front end did not seem to absorb rocks and bumps as well, even though it was supposed to be the trail edition. So while it looked great and was really fast, it seemed fatiguing to ride. I let a few other friends try it out and they noticed the same problem. We'd also been getting into mountain biking and did not have as much time to ride other things on the weekends. Since I now had a Can-Am Renegade 500, which is another story, my KTM 200XC, and had just bought a Ford Raptor, I figured I was covered on off-road machines and payments. I decided to sell the YFZ and not replace it. I listed it on Facebook Marketplace and sold it within a few weeks. A nice guy and his pals came up to get it, and he asked me why I was selling it. I told him and myself I just didn't have much time to ride, and it didn't make sense to have something that nice and expensive left sitting in a building collecting dust. This was in early fall of 2019. I did not ride much in the fall or miss it much as we were doing other things. I went about business living life without a YFZ. However, around early December, I started looking at Facebook Marketplace listings of YFZs again. Just out of curiosity, I told myself. For something to do, I said, to no one who was asking. I came across a blue 04 YFZ listed for $1,000 one morning, running, with all four wheels attached. The posting had been up for less than an hour. I messaged him immediately. The guy said it had no major issues, but had been sitting a while and probably needed a carb cleaning. I responded and told him I'd be there to look at it that evening, and if it was as he said, I would take it off his hands. It happened to be about 4 hours away, but close enough. I left work early around 4 p.m. on a snowy Tuesday and headed to Dale Barton, West Virginia. On the way up, I saw a Polaris dealership that appeared in the middle of nowhere. And I needed 4 lug nuts for my Polaris Trailblazer 250, so I pulled in to give it a shot. I walked in and walked back out with their last set of 4 lug nuts. Another positive sign this trip would be a good one. Apple Maps decided the house was just between the bridge and floating over the river. I had no self-service, but he said look for a white house with a tow truck and several cars in the yard. So using that knowledge, I managed to find the place anyway, with no street lights. And by the way, the tow truck had 2 flat tires. Curious, but this had to be it. I parked, and as I walked up to the house, I noticed a school bus chassis on wheels, half in the garage and half out, with the garage door down to the frame. The garage lights were on, and I heard people talking, so I decided to knock on the lower part of the garage door. It was at fist height anyway. A friendly guy that was maybe 20 came out and greeted me. We rolled the YFZ over in front of my truck, Raptor number 2 now, another story, and switched on the headlights so we could actually see the YFZ. He said it'd been sitting in storage for a few months and had a dead battery, but once it got the good carb cleaning, it should be ready to ride. He was selling it to get a 450 dirt bike. I told him I understood. I came prepared with the battery jumper, and after connecting to the post, the YFZ fired up first crank and ran and revved out smoothly. He threw in a new clutch he had still in the box and helped me push the four-wheeler on the truck. I arrived back home with my prize in the back of the bed around midnight. Happy, but tired. I rolled the YFZ into the garage and hooked up the trickle charger. To be continued.